What's up, everybody? Josh Tapp here again, and welcome back to the Lucky Titan. It's been a while since we've had an interview here on the show. I've been doing a bunch of solo casts, so it's good to have a fantastic guest joining us here. So we have Alex Brueckmann here with us today, and I just have to kind of intro him by saying when they sent me his bio, I was looking at it going, I mean, this is the type of guy I think we'd be cut from the same cloth. And then we somehow showed up to the interview wearing the exact same t-shirt. And I'm like, it's meant to be, man. It's meant to be. So Alex, I'm stoked to have you, brother. First off, say what's up to everybody and then we'll hop in.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Super excited to be here. Got to admit that some of the podcast shows I've been on, they start kind of lame. But this one isn't one of them.
Oh yeah. I love to hear that. We try to stray away from lame and when explaining our show, but, okay, man. So today I wanted to really dive in today. You know, obviously we want to hear your story. We want to hear where you came from, but I'd love to hear what you mean when you say strategy, right? Because you're a guy you're highly educated. You know, you went to Harvard, you went to like 15 other schools, it looks like. So you've done a lot of things when it comes to strategy. And what I found, having done my MBA as well, that most people look at strategy, people who haven't gotten an education that way, they look at strategy as if it's kind of it just happens, right? Where the truth of the matter is you have to be highly strategic with your strategy in order to make it work. So I'd love to hear kind of your methodology on it and what you mean when you say strategy.
I mean, there's even a book that's called Your Strategy Needs a Strategy. It's actually a really good book.
Yeah, well then that's one we need to read.
Yeah, let's back up for a moment. So I actually didn't go into business in order to do strategy. So my focus was marketing. So my major was marketing and business languages. So when I started my career after university, I was like, okay, big corporation, do that, bang. Started my career for CEO as an executive assistant, and then worked my way into different areas of the business. And at some point in time, he came up and like, I'm becoming the new head of the board for this other organization there. Do you want to join me? I'm like, what would I do? You would be my strategy manager. And I'm like, what? I hated strategy in university. Why would I do that? But he just reeled me in somehow. And I started to enjoy strategy a lot. So, and this is where my understanding of strategy was kind of born. So when I use that term, I really mean business strategy. I mean, the overarching strategy that an organization needs in order to get where they want to be. So it's your way to reaching your future state, the ideal future state that you want to create with your company. If you could time travel, what would you see in 3 years down the road? How would that business look like? How would it feel like? And the way to get there, basically, how do you prioritize your resources, time and money, to invest in the absolute essential priorities to get there? That is your strategy. And it's so difficult for most people to actually nail that down because they want to do all things at the same time. They completely overestimate how much time they have, how much money they have available. And they think it's just gonna, as you said, it's gonna happen if they just do these and these things. That's just not how it works. I've worked for 20 years now in this realm, and I've worked all across the world with all kinds of organizations, from solopreneurs to global multinationals with tens of thousands of people. And it's everywhere the same. I see the same patterns. First of all, people underestimate how easy strategy actually is. They always think it's super complicated and super fancy and costs a lot of time and money. Yeah, that's maybe true for a large organization because they are complex as organizations and they have complex business models. The smaller your business is, and I work a lot with like mid six-figure entrepreneurs, they are actually super blown away with how fast they can get to a written down, solid strategic plan. It's not that difficult. It's not that complicated. And it's not that expensive as many might think. It's just that they don't have the tools. They don't know where to start. They don't know how it works. So that's where people like me come in and help them just to translate those proven concepts into something that works for their space. Right. And you mentioned Harvard. So I don't have a Harvard MBA. I just visited some courses there. that are available for everyone. So if you want to start educating yourself a bit more around the topics of strategy, there are great courses out there. And my background, educational background, academic background is in business. So I visited a business school in Europe. And their strategy for me was exactly that. It was just this weird concept that I didn't grasp because it wasn't anchored in reality. But for you as an entrepreneur out there, it is anchored in your reality. It is your business. And then all of a sudden it's just a lot of fun to strategize and then take it and translate it into action.
Well, and I do want to throw in there too. I mean, I feel like having worked with so many entrepreneurs is that they just don't want to build a strategy, follow it, and then get 5 years into the plan and realize it was the wrong plan, right? And so it's this big fearful thing for most people because they're sitting here going, is this actually going to work? What actually works, right? And then someone like me, I'll be like, well, don't recreate the wheel, just do what's already been done. But then they're like, okay, but what was that? How do I figure that out? So how are you helping people get to this point where they know which strategy to actually follow?
Their strategy. It's very simple. It's their strategy. There are no strategies that you can copy because these are strategies of other people, other businesses at other points in time. And if the moment you realize that you can't copy strategies, that doesn't work. It's just not possible. There are so many people out there that just be like, oh, that seems like a cool new trend, or I wonder how they did that. I want to try that. That's other people's businesses. That's not yours. That's a different time. That's not now. So first of all, you need to understand you need the right mindset for a strategy. And that means mindset of growth, mindset of abundance, speed over perfection, JOMO over FOMO. If you look at other people and be like, oh, that looks good, I want to do that. You do that because of FOMO. You fear that you miss out on this opportunity that they grasp. It's not your opportunity. So sit down, write down a strategy that follows a certain process, like the creation process. There's a certain process behind that is not difficult. Once you've done that, you actually hold something in your hands that is not static. So that's one of those things that you mentioned, Josh. What if that doesn't work? Then change it. That's why I have strategy reviews every 3 to 4 months, where you take half a day or a day, sit down and ask yourself, what do we have achieved? Do the metrics show that we're moving in the right direction? So important piece. The strategy work that I do with entrepreneurs is measurable. They have proof of concept immediately, whether things are moving in the right way or not. And then you adjust. A strategy is not a fixed thing that you execute on over 5 years, or in the worst case, you just write it down, then you work for 3 years after you've always done it, and then you ask yourself, hey, did we get there? This is not how it's working. You need those measuring criteria in place that show you that you're moving the needle on the things that matter.
Right. Well, and I look at it, so from what I'm hearing from you, I'm just kind of translating what I'm hearing here, is that, I mean, it's an evolving strategy. It should never be constantly set, and it should be data driven. My big question is always like, where do people start with this? Because the truth of the matter is, the people listening to this show, they're typically, it's not just them. They're not really a solopreneur. They've got less than 10 employees, but they're probably sitting around like $500,000 a year, and they've done a pretty good job, but they're also wearing about 15 different hats.
Yeah.
And all of their employees are wearing about 15 different hats. And the next strategy always seems to be, well, I need to implement a sales system, right? I've got to implement a real sales system. Is that usually where you find people running to, is like the marketing or sales side, or do you see them running towards other things?
It's an important pillar in successful strategies most of the time. Implementing a marketing or sales system is not a strategy. This is a tactic. It's a tactical piece that you need in order to make your strategy, your entire strategy work. You got to imagine a strategy like a small little engine with a few cogs in it. So you turn one, everything else starts to move. And a good strategy is not, I do this one thing and then I be happy, right? It's not how it's working. You realize how different things influence each other. The interdependencies between your priorities needs to be clear in order for you to make the right decisions. And what I typically end up with, or what people that I work with and typically up with, is a plan that has 3 to 4 key priorities. And that's what's the difficult piece for many, because they've, as you said, they are used to wearing so many different hats. They're all over the place. And let's be honest, we're winging it. And I'm an entrepreneur myself. We're winging it here, we're winging it there. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And the thing is, I help them understand their absolute priorities, to move from this fear of missing out to the joy of missing out. You sit there, you know what your priorities are, and you're happy with it. You don't need that other stuff that's just coming your way and be like, oh, that's nice. It's just that. It's a nice, shiny object. And you realize all of a sudden what's really important for you, for your business, for your next growth step. And then once you have these priorities very, very clear, you just put them into action. And this is the difficult part when it comes to strategy. It's not the decisions that you take on what to do and what not to do. It's not envisioning this future state. You just need some tools and someone that holds the space for you, and you will make that work. It's the translation of these, what we call work streams, into action. But this is where the magic happens. You then all of a sudden put your money where your mouth is and your time where your mouth is. And this is where you see the results coming in. So typically, I work with people, the large organizations I work with, they typically work in 4 to 5 year timeframes when it comes to creating a new strategy. And that's simply because they need a year to create it.
Right.
It's just the process.
There's so many moving parts. Yeah,
exactly. And so many people involved, and create buy-in and all these political things. The smaller companies I work with, especially the let's say 2, 3, 5, 10 employee companies, they can move extremely fast. I just closed a deal with a high-profile company in the travel industry. Small company, but luxury travel. Amazing what they do. They are only a handful of people. We created that process that will give them their strategy within 2 months. And that's only because we have a month of a break while they are out of the country. So with other people, I literally do this within a week, in 3 sessions, 3 phone calls, and they're there. It's the execution piece then, where they need to be consistent, where they need someone to hold the space and hold them accountable, because often it's just not their biggest strength to hold themselves accountable to the execution. But that's where structure and process comes in, and where people can just, take my hand, for example, or someone else's hand. It doesn't have to be me. There are other people out there that do similar work as I do. So I think the biggest benefit of going through a process like that is it just makes your priorities crystal clear. It helps you strip away all the fancy stuff, all the fads, all the things that seem shiny but aren't really furthering your cause and not helping you to grow. And it's easier than many people think.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Dean Graziosi or not, but he says this thing all the time. I love it. It's you need to have a not to do list. And that's what strategy is all about, right? I know for myself, I used to think I was thinking strategically for my company, but then when I finally took a step back and I looked at it, I'm like, if I was consulting my own company, I'd be like, you suck. You need to focus on something, right? Like actually realign your focus. Yeah, I know for myself, this is about, I think in October of last year, maybe September of last year, we were looking at it going, okay, Josh needs to be out of the fulfillment process entirely, right? That needs to be one of our number one priorities, because I was spending countless hours still managing accounts and things like that. And, we really needed a predictable sales system, right? We need a sales system that we know can generate X amount of results, and we can do it predictably, put money in, get money out type situation. And just doing those 2, we only did 2 goals. It wasn't even 3 or 4, but just having those 2 goals, it stripped everything else away. We stopped building courses. We stopped building funnels, stopped spending all this time on all these different activities that might have yielded some money even, but we focused on those 2 and we doubled our sales within 2 months. And it was one of those things where it was like, wow, we actually leveraged a strategy, like you said, and it's highly implementable because we're still a small team.
Yes.
It's cool that I love to hear that you're saying that, because to me, I'm like, it's just speaking to me, because I'm like, that's exactly what we've had to do in the past little while.
I always say to my clients, strategy is as much about knowing what not to do as it is about knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And just being intentional about it.
I feel like it's even more important of what not to do, simply because as entrepreneurs, especially in today's world, we're getting hit up 40 times a day with all these biz op strategies that we can leverage within our own company. You know, I mean, if you're on LinkedIn, you've probably been hit up 5 times this week about a strategy you could be implementing. But the truth of the matter is, any one of them will work. You just have to pick one that you like and run with it.
And they are not strategies in the first place. They are tactics. They are ideas.
Yeah.
It's not a strategy.
Love it. I've got to like beat that into my brain, right? It's a tactic, not a strategy. Cool. Well, so you also, Alex, you have an event that you guys are launching here in February, and I just wanted to make sure everybody here knows about that. So can you give us a little bit of background on the event?
It's called Legacy, the premier strategic business event, and it's 3 days packed with amazing people. So we have 15 speakers per day. They reach from Harvard Business School professors to ENGO CEOs to entrepreneurs in the beauty space, so online, offline entrepreneurs, amazing people. And the summit is all about creating profitable businesses for a greater impact. That means day one is a lot about how can we leverage as entrepreneurs, how can we leverage our businesses as a force for good? How can we do good while doing well? And on day two, we talk a lot about doing well. So how do we build those profitable businesses? We have business consulting veterans with us as speakers, a lot of people that help us understand tactics, and some also help us understand strategy in a different light. And day three is all about us as entrepreneurs. How can we be more productive without burning out? We even talk about burnout prevention, burnout recovery. We talk about what does it take in terms of mindset to be successful and play the long game and not just be in it hustling and bustling and burning out in that course. So we talk all things physical health, mental health, productivity, and how all these 3 things connect to help us live a fulfilled life. It's entirely free to sign up. The event doesn't cost a penny. If you want to support the event, you can do that in that course. And all the proceeds actually go to 2 not-for-profit organizations. We don't keep a penny. Number one, Oceanwise, an environmental protection organization in North America and Canada. They get 50% of all the proceeds that we make. And the other 50% go to a small team of medical researchers in Munich, Germany, who are entirely dedicated on finding a cure for DIPG or terminal childhood brain cancers in general. I've been supporting them for 5 years, and this is one of my ways of using my business as a force for good.
I love that. Love that. And I hope everybody who's listening to this is looking at this as an opportunity for them. I mean, it's a free event, first off, so definitely go check this out. But, you know, Alex was talking about building your strategy and getting it done within, you know, you said under a week, right? This is where you should start, is head to this event. So the link is brueckmann.ca/legacy. Is that correct?
Yes. And you can make it easy. You go to alexthestrategist.com. The event sign up is right there on the landing page.
Love it. So Alex the Strategist, that's what it is. alexthestrategist.com. Make sure you guys go check that out. And Alex, just to kind of wrap this interview up, could you give us one final parting piece of guidance?
In the sense of strategy, or in the sense of wearing black t-shirts?
Or entrepreneur, yeah. It could be any of the above, right?
Well, I believe that if I had only one guiding sentence, it would be, if you think you are strategic, think again. There is always something out there that you think is a strategy that actually is not. So don't let yourself be guided by other people's strategies. Create your own.